Hey, babe.
Hi. How you doing?
Pretty good.
You talking to me?
I was talking to them.
Oh,
I was talking to them. Like they're new.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome. Glad that you're here. This is episode
This will be episode 6. But
video 2. Cue the music.
oh,
It's you and me, baby. Against all odds, we got a good marriage because we serve a greater God. Good marriage.
oh,
Your hat is like way up now. It's kind of
My hat?
Yeah, like it's
know.
even higher than you've done before. It kind of has like a Three Stooges
I like it.
look going.
I'm with it.
right now.
I'm here for this. I like that.
I don't know if you know. It looks like you're wearing a hat that's way too small.
I like this. I know what it looks like.
Like
I know it-
earlier, it was better. I'm just saying right
I'm
now,
saying I like it.
it's even higher than it was.
Yeah.
It don't look as good as
You don't have to be
earlier.
on board with this. I'm just saying I like it.
All right.
So, if you're new to our channel, if you're new to our podcast, my name's Brandon,
I'm Kim.
and thank you for joining us. Such a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about something that we've been talking about for a while, and that is, the prospect of children. We are not parents, but we think we might like to be parents someday. So, I want to talk about that.
All right. It's about right. Mm-hmm. When you were young, did you think that you would have children?
Oh,
growing
man.
up?
It's weird. I feel like that's all like I talked about. I always talked about the future. Like I remember when I was a kid, I would talk about, what it's going to be like when I get my first car. What is it going to be like when I get my first job? What is it going to be like when I go to college? All these different things. What is it going to be like when I get married and have kids? So I feel like I always, kind of had marriage and children, on like my mind, which is, I don't think that is the norm for a lot of guys.
Oh, more than people think, I would imagine. I think there's more guys than people.
I'm a part of an elite group, I guess.
Perhaps. I had no intention really on having children. Even in my first marriage, I did not get married thinking, oh man, now that I'm married, perhaps I'll do this having kids now. Still had zero intention on having children. What made me consider the possibility was seeing you and seeing how great you are with children, and just the kind of spirit that you have, and your personality, just your character in general. I'm like, he would be a great father.
Oh man.
I also had to work through some of my own fears as well. I never wanted to have children, but I didn't realize that my main reason behind that, I only realized this just like 5 years ago, was because I didn't want to end up a single mother. And so for some reason, to me, having children just automatically meant like, you're going to be doing this by yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what I grew up seeing. So I guess it is no surprise that I thought that way. But, here we are changing that narrative. We have zero intention, obviously, of breaking up. Of course, unforeseen circumstances could happen, and so one parent could end up being a sole provider for a child. But I am no longer operating from a place of fear. I used to think that if you end up pregnant, like you might as well just jump off a cliff, man. Like,
Oh man.
yeah, like
That's
to me, yeah, like literally the same words. And I remember the moment then when I no longer felt like I was operating out of fear, that I said, you know what? I wouldn't jump off the cliff. like those exact words to myself. Like, I actually think I'll be all right.
Yeah. I ain't gonna jump off a cliff.
I think I'll be all right. So here we are now.
Here we are.
Now okay with the idea.
Yeah.
I also knew that you wanted to have children. So I let you know early on, like, I'm not a big having kids person. I'm gonna let you know right now. Like, I never really planned on having children, but I'm not married to that because who am I to dictate, exactly what my future would be? I don't know my future or how I will even evolve.
And it's funny that you should say that because
I was surprised you was
like
okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, because at the same time, like, yeah, I wanted kids, but I wasn't married to the idea of having kids because number one, I don't have to carry them. I don't have to carry. I don't. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to get pregnant and worry about carrying a baby to term. I don't have to deal with the trauma. I don't have to deal with so many things that like I don't have to consider. Other than the fun parts. And right. So like if you didn't want to have kids, it's like I love you. That's not a deal breaker for me. And I respect people who, if it is a deal breaker for you, like I feel like that's something that should be communicated early on, But for me, it wasn't a deal breaker. I wanted to be with you, and if you didn't want to have kids, I was like, all right, well, maybe we won't have kids. I think we both came in with like a lot of grace into our relationship with each other, and we still operate in that same grace. Do we still piss each other off and get on each other's nerves? Absolutely. But I think it's grace. Like you have to kind of, especially in marriage, and you're dealing with people who are, in most cases in marriages, like opposite of each other. So you like having that in mind, you have to come to the table with some grace, man. So you can't be so rigid in everything.
Yeah.
I don't believe. So.
No, I agree. Well, now we've been married for 5 years
it.
now.
You should have some of it.
It's delicious.
Sorry for interrupting.
Homemade apple cider with a little bit of whiskey. Delicious.
Piquito.
Delicious. Now that we've been married for 5 years, I wonder, like, if we will have kids or not. I wasn't 100% certain, of course, that we could, but we can say that we've been not preventing pregnancy. And it was about almost a year into trying, that I thought it would be a good idea to get checkups, make sure that everything is okay. Like all the things that help to facilitate pregnancy, basically. Wanted to make sure that everything was okay there, so we went to a fertility clinic just for diagnostic purposes, and pretty much got the okay. Like, there's some things that could be better, but we think that you should be okay. I knew I had like fibroids, but they weren't preventing pregnancy from where they're located, which was good. And I was like, all right, we'll just keep trying, and then another year goes by. So when we went to a fertility clinic again, just because basically if you're not pregnant within a year, then there's a good chance that you're gonna be up for a challenge.
Yeah.
If you're not pregnant after a year of trying. But because we are okay either way with or without children, we didn't feel like any urgency to be like, oh my gosh, we should really come up with a strong game plan and some interventions and everything else. And, but I'm glad that we were smart to do kind of like the fertility check-ins. We're still not pregnant.
Nope.
Still not preventing.
Yeah, I mean,
it.
we practicing.
But it's interesting though, because just about all my friends and family know me as the person who has not really ever intended on having children. So I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up, being like, "Well, we're trying," because that gets annoying. Plus, I didn't think it was anybody's business to be honest.
It's none of your business.
It's none of your business. Yeah. But I think when it seemed like it was not going to be easy, I found myself like not wanting to talk to anybody about that. And so that I kind of isolated myself a little bit there. Because even the few times that I've tried, honestly, it depends on the friend. I know I tried gauging it to somebody like, because they were just like, well, you're not trying to have kids, so blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, actually, yeah, we are trying to have kids. And I think the assumption is that any woman who is doing any type of effort to try to have children, that there's this assumption that this is what she's wanted her whole life. And it's this heavy thing, like, oh my gosh, if I won't be a complete person until I have children. So you end up getting, and you don't get this because it's definitely, I'm sure, a woman thing, but the response that I get is either, oh no, like it'll happen. You both will be excellent parents, and it's like put on really heavy, like this is what you always want. I didn't say this is all I always wanted. Or I get the, oh, you're not trying to have kids. You're not trying that hard, so nah.
I think with
it's kind of weird.
Like it's nothing that is projected on me as a guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like and you know I think other guys who have been through this,
we get all the
like
projection.
I think it's more so we question ourselves. You know, we feel like, oh man, this is something that and it's completely unfair. But we always say, oh, I think this is something that I should be able to do. I should be able to father a child. I should be able to give my wife a baby. I should be able to just, whatever. For whatever reason, when you can't do that, you start questioning your body. Like, what's wrong with my body? How come I can't do this? Man, maybe we won't ever have kids, and maybe it's my fault.
Women receive all of the negative comments, or the comments that people think is okay to say. People like to make your life their business, I guess. I don't know. And like to say things like, well, why haven't you had children yet? As if you are in full control on whether when and how frequently you can birth children. Or sometimes it's even framed in a way that you're depriving your husband by not having children yet, or giving him children.
Yeah.
And I used to be it was nice, when I was single, and all of that kind of died away because I was divorced. And at that point, people probably were like, she is not going to have kids. She's all about her single life and she's loving it. Let's forget it. And let's no longer, try to...
Let's not broach the topic.
And that's just not, yeah. And then I got married and people started to sneak it back up again. Like, oh, snap, there's a chance now. We got a chance. Like, you barely had a chance about me getting remarried. Don't get too excited about the prospect of children. So when people would mention, like, so when's the babies coming and everything? And I used to just be like, oh, you know what? When the Lord deems it time, it will happen. And it kills me when that's not enough for people. You would think defaulting to the Lord would shut people up.
I think people have like a tough time wrapping their head around it because they look at you like,
why,
you seem healthy.
Yeah, they just figure like you're a beautiful couple. You'll make beautiful babies, and pregnancy just happens like this. And that's not the truth for many people. It's not like it's rare for folks to have a little bit of difficulty getting pregnant. There are many women who deal with fertility issues, many men that deal with fertility issues. You have people who have miscarriages. And the lack of sensitivity to that, just like completely that going out the window for people to the point that they think it's okay to question your fertility and why you haven't had kids yet.
And I think it's something that like is not really talked about a lot. like miscarriages and stuff. Like it's a lot of women who go through it, and who, unfortunately, like a lot of women are quiet about it. So like when my sister had her miscarriage, it wasn't until she had her miscarriage that she found other people who've been through that. And thank God, people come out when that happens, but like, from like seeing her go through that, it just seemed like, oh man, my body let me down, or I feel like an island or whatever, but I think that the dialogue should be out there because it like you said, it is more so the norm for you to struggle with your first few,
I think like 1 in 3 like pregnancies and a miscarriage, like something like something along that statistic. Like that, it is very common, and that's just miscarriage. That's not even including the folks who might have trouble getting pregnant altogether, who maybe are dealing with a health condition that may or may not be preventing or making just pregnancy more difficult. I don't know. I think my last straw with people, like trying to say I need to have children, because I don't feel as though I should have to give people the full story. Like, well, we've been trying, but we've been having some challenges. But I don't think that anyone deserves that answer. Because like I said, it's none of your business. I remember we were at a friend's house who was having a party, and this person at the party, seeing other people with their kids, was like, all right, man, it's time for y'all to hurry up and have some kids. And I'm like, I'm not even sure if we even want to have kids. So, it's not really up to you to decide. And she kind of kept going for a while. Then she finally was like, okay, I'll stop. And then I'm walking away from her, and then I hear her yell to me, who's going to take care of you when you get old? And
the Lord.
Even before she said that, like she first was talking about how great her children have been in her life, and this is someone whose children are grown now. And she wouldn't take none of my soft answers, as a clue to like shut up. So she kept thinking it was okay to keep pushing and broaching it.
It's peer pressure.
And when she did that, she was loud enough for a few people to like notice and turn around like. And I said to her, not yelling, because she yelled that, and she tried to say like, just kidding. And I was just like, my family, we take very good care of each other, whether we have children or not. I have an amazing family, and we look out for each other. There is nobody who's like without children who is just like on their own, And I was like we will be okay. And I pretty much like was ready to leave at that point. So I think I left shortly after that. And ever since then, I said, from now on, I will, whenever I get broached with any questions about why we don't have kids, or any question about a topic of children that's nobody's business, that I will give them an answer that is what I hope makes them equally uncomfortable, like with their, my response will, hopefully make them equally uncomfortable than it is to question someone. So like, it's like I had one person inquire about it, and they said, why haven't you had kids? What are you waiting for? I was like, oh, I'm waiting to not be 3 times more likely to die as a Black woman in childbirth.
Start dropping them statistics.
And I'm waiting for maternal mortality to improve, actually. You realize that it's me. I had the statistics of those who don't get listened to, by doctors and nurses during childbirth. I'm more likely to have complications that could kill me and my child. I like to wait for that to get worked on a little bit, or my favorite is if they ask me a question about what am I waiting for or why haven't you having kids yet? I will ask them like, oh, I don't know. How much have you invested in your 401k? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I mean, you're going to retire eventually, right? Who's going to take care of you? Don't count on your kids, And so that's been very effective. I hope that we are able to have children. If not, it's fine. We are considering just how much we were willing to intervene to make it happen. I think it took a long time. I think for you it didn't take long, but it took a while for me to decide, like, I'm willing to do IUI, which is like intrauterine implantation, to assist, but not yet. I am really committed to really making sure we're as healthy as possible because I don't want to start throwing interventions into the mix when there actually could be something underlying, that might be best. I think sometimes, most of the time, our bodies know best. If something is not working, if something is possibly not working as it should, it may be because something needs to be worked on or improved or strengthened. And, so we've spent, I like the last 6 months, really just like getting our health in a strong place. And trying to feel our healthiest, and and not to make it seem like that's gonna be the fix at all, but
it helps.
It helps. I want to make sure that even if we do, especially if we do decide to go the intervention route, fertility intervention route, that I want to know that we are at our best physically, emotionally, mentally, like that we're in a good place, because there's a lot of stress that could come from that once you start doing interventions. I barely keep track of like ovulation and like stuff like that. I mean, I have like the little app, that I can like log my period and like some symptoms. But anything more than that, I start to feel the pressure. I wonder if anybody can relate to that, because there's some women who are trying to get pregnant that, man, it's like they studying for the bar exam. Like they get down into the nitty gritty of details. Yeah. They're checking the cervical fluid. They're checking the ovulation. They're checking their temperature every day.
Nautical coordinates. Like we gotta be facing due north.
Like I think brings a lot of that can, for me, would bring a lot of stress into the situation. That's my concern about interventions. It's why, at least right now, I'm not willing to do IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. It has, for one, it's remarkably more expensive. It's your most expensive route, basically. And though we can like make the financial part work, it also makes the stakes like feel really high. So like the letdown is heavy if it don't work out. But I also don't want to put that stress on our marriage. Like the stress of doing $10,000 pop treatments and trying to like stay hopeful and and healthy and not worry. Like it's all right. So we'll see. We'll see how things pan out. Eventually, I do know that if we don't have children, we will be absolutely fine, because it's not wrapped up into our identity.
You'll be a great mom.
Yeah. Even growing up, when I never really wanted to have children. I've always kept the door open of the possibility of adoption.
Yeah.
And
that's actually a new thing for me. Like I remember
considering adoption. Yeah.
I wasn't
or
really big on
fostering.
Adoption.
Yeah, you wasn't. Yeah, because I was like, I'm like, oh, it's fine, babe. Like if you want to have kids, and why don't we just adopt? And you like,
yeah.
Oh, and that's okay. That's okay. And a lot of people are that way. They want to have their own.
But that's changed.
Their own,
like for me though, like I would totally be up for adoption.
until then, we are enjoying being uncle and auntie.
It's lit.
It's nice.
It's lit.
Actually, it's nice. It really is. And every kid we encounter, related or not related, becomes our niece or nephew.
Yep.
And yeah, I like it. I'm a fan. I like the social experiment of watching them evolve into full humans.
It's cool.
And seeing them have like epiphanies, like finding their feet.
Yeah.
Finding their voice. Figuring out how to lie. What?
Look at him. Look at his face.
You don't even have to teach them.
They just know intuitively how to lie.
Like them just watching them do things that will ultimately collectively become them being a citizen of the world. And
I like watching
crazy.
Children like process and
I do
and like figure out certain things, and
solving.
seeing the problem solving going on behind their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I love seeing that.
It cracks me up actually. Trying to even trying to decide which toy to play with. Like they really like.
It's so.
Or like when their imagination is like all over the place, and you just like, wow, you're really like Van Gogh up in this piece.
Kids
like,
are also politicians amongst like other kids.
Yeah,
kids.
I see that in action.
Like it's nuts.
It's like they are little mini adults.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Because you never really like change. You grow. You add layers to yourself, but like you're still. I believe at the center of everybody, you're still that little kid. You just add experiences and you add life layers on top. I like that phrase. Life layers. Bars.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you guys know if anything changes in the children department. In the meantime, we are really enjoying our lives together. We feel complete as husband and wife. We have some lovely role models to help guide us along the way. If we have kids, I already know which people we're gonna be hollering at.
Shout out to Belief in Fatherhood, man. You made me feel like I can be a dad. So, for sure, man.
And you definitely make me see what it looks like to be a dad.
Yeah.
And because I didn't grow up seeing that, and it's nice to see that in action.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let your light shine, bro.
Well,
we getting low on the drink.
Is getting low. Yeah.
So it's almost time to go.
Time to go.
Hey, for you young married couples who are thinking about kids who have not taken that leap into parenthood, and you who can relate to us, let us know in the comment section below.
Also, those who are parents, you got some advice on like kind of how things were before you had kids, what you did to prepare yourself for children, I'm always open to get advice. And I'm always a fan of getting folks' thoughts, especially those who have been there, done that. So, yeah.
Yeah, come on, Global Village.
And like,
come on, communicate.
For you women out there who are getting people always thinking that is their business to know why you haven't had children yet, I highly recommend you look up a few solid, sobering statistics that you use to have as your, basically your ammunition. And when people think it's their business to inquire about those things, or just kind of come up with a list of responses that are very much either can create some cognitive dissonance for the person who's asking you the question, or can at least shut them down and shut them up. I highly recommend just have it available. Just make a list, and you will not regret it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.
It's you and me, baby. Against all odds, we got a good marriage because we serve a greater God. Good marriage.